When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hey guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fan fiction story. Let's get right to it. We're going to continue where we last left off after the brief encounter with the flexible blonde vampire that came out of nowhere and attacked Izuku. Our favorite Midoriya has finally made his way to the human city to meet with this Principal Nezu. After a brief greeting, they made their way back into his office. Nezu took out a map of the city and put it on his desk and unfolded onto the desk table, basically what he's doing. This is where we believe the nest is located at. It should be around this area. It's the only abandoned part of the city. Ever since the Quirkless Law, that area has been remain empty. Majority of Quirkless, the majority of the Quirkless population used to stay in that part of the city. Eventually it was turned into some sort of slum area. Then eventually they just banished them. It's quite sad. I don't agree with the law. I'm doing what I can to change it, but progress is very slow, unfortunately. I came across a village that is filled with a lot of quirkless humans, and their village chief is quite welcoming. Kami Woods is a pretty good leader. I haven't heard that name in quite a long while. I'm glad to see he's doing well for himself. I take it you know Woods? Yes, he was a very good pro-hero, but when the law passed to banish all the quirkless out of the city, out of all human cities, he was very vocal about it, his disagreement about the law. He eventually left. I'm pleased to see he's doing good and continuing to do good in his own ways. Let's get back to the briefing. Proceed, Principal Nezu. When you enter this part of the city that's been abandoned, be wary of your surroundings. There's a lot of villains that's been spotted in that area recently. Several gangs have taken over parts of the abandoned part of the city. There's been a lot of turf battles the past couple months. Not only will I have to worry about vampires, but villains as well. Do you think the two are connected? That would be tragic. That's why I want the hostile vampires in that area to be removed. I might not like the idea of vampires being killed, but according to the human laws, vampires have no right in any human city. So I have no disagreement onto it. I have no prejudice against vampires in a whole, but these ones are causing trouble, so they need to be removed. That's why I asked for a hunter. I have different morals compared to humans. At the end of the day, I am not human. I'm a chimera. Not surprised vampires don't have rights in any human city. Humans don't like the unknown. My benefactor told me you were a chimera before I accepted the mission or the job. I've had a I've had a small conversation with the vampire called that. She's quite a delight to talk to. Very intelligent young lady. It would be best it would be in your best interest to keep the battles stayed in this part of the city. The hero organization is not very happy that I brought a hunter into the city, but I won't allow their actions to stop me try to prevent from further trouble of occurring in the future. I will not allow their actions or arrogance to get in the way of the general population. According to this map, this abandoned area is not too big, so one of my barriers should be efficient. I just have to get in the middle. Barriers, magical barriers. The rumors were true. You're one of the Midorias that has access to magic, or the only Midori, basically. I find it quite puzzling. As a Midoriya, you're able to wield magic. According to what I know about the Midoriya clan, they're unable to wield magic ever since ever since using old magic to enchant their reflexes and all the natural aptitude of the human senses. Truth, any Midoriya is usually as strong as a fresh churned vampire. Let's just say I'm a bit of a special case. Long story short, I'm not a big fan of my clan currently. Blood will be paid with blood. They'll get what's coming to them eventually. Not surprised you're not fond of your clan, considering how the Midoriya clan all hate anything magic, anything not human. I've had a unfortunate pleasure to meet one of your clan members. It was very unpleasant, very rude. Sadly, like most humans, they can't look past my animalistic look. I don't hate them for that. That's just ignorance, after all. Before you begin your mission, out of pure curiosity, what type of ability do you have? Quirk-wise. I have the ability to create uh, black silver weapons, like katanas, daggers, and so on. I'm able to create simple objects like tombstones, coffins, and so on. The more complex the object, the harder it is to create. Fascinating. You indeed have a perfect quirk for your profession. What about limitations? Outside of the more complex objects that you be able to create, do your weapons disappear over long periods of time? Principal Nezu is way too engulfed into the subject of his quirk. He always finds quirks fascinating. All the objects I create are permanent, they don't disappear, and drawbacks to my quirk is linked to my stamina. Each object I make takes stamina to produce. The more complex the item I create, the more stamina will have to be used during the process of creation. Because I trained my stamina since I was a kid, that's not really much of a drawback for me. I normally only create tanas. It doesn't take too much stamina to create. Fascinating ability. I would like to go more detail into it at a later date, if you don't mind. That would be most appreciated. The Midori clan don't have quirk doctors after all, so I never had a explanation of what my quirk could actually do. Only things I know about it right now is because of trial and error on my part. I'll return immediately when I have the job finished. Thank you for the tea. It was lovely. Good luck, young Midoriya. You, Principal Nezu. As Izuku gave the Chimera a short bow, then left the office and began to head out of the UA. Izuku decided to go on foot to explore the city while heading to his mission coordinates. Back to the office. We're alone, All Might. A skeleton-like human comes into Nezu's office. So that's the hunter that's taking his job, taking the job. He seems like a good kid. Just keep an eye on him. He might seem like a good kid, but he's a Midoriya. They're prone to psychotic and brutal actions. I've always believed it was always a genetic trait when it comes to that clan. It seems the young Midoriya has a lesser version compared to the rest of his clan. Sure thing, Nezu. I'll keep an eye on the kid. As the number one hero is in his remain in his skinny form and walk out of the office to trail Izuku from a safe distance so he doesn't get noticed by the youngest Midoriya from the Midoriya clan. To explore the city on his way, seeing all the humans continue their daily life. He came upon a scene where a hero is battling a villain on one of the streets. As Izuku blend in with the crowd, observing the fight, seeing the two giant humans. Well, he thinks he knows one of them human, but that one looks like almost. He's not quite sure. He looks interesting to Izuku, so he can't really specify if he's a human or not. So as he continues watching the battle, as he blend in, observing the fight, seeing the two giants battle each other out. After a minor skirmish, Mount Lady took out the villain fairly easy by cutting off his air circulation. So she got him into a hold, cutting off his air pipe, so she could prevent any other buildings getting damaged, making sure her surroundings doesn't get tore up because it could endanger any of the civilians. Impressive. She must have some sort of ability to change her size. Fascinating. I got sidetracked enough. Time to kill some vampires. As he has a massive grin on his face that didn't go unnoticed by a nearby hero with long bunny ears. I like that grin on that kid. And judging by his appearance and the katanas that's on his back, he must be a outsider. Interesting. Let's see what this kid is up to. He's got me curious. I'm technically still off of work, so what the hell not? Even when the two heroes are trying to stealthily follow Izuku, the young vampire hunter could easily tell he's being trailed. He just doesn't care as long as they don't interfere in the hunt. He will not have to cut them down. He'll cut them down without no hesitation, regardless if they're heroes or not. No one interrupts when he's hunting his prey. The city is quite lovely. It seems like a nice place to live for mere humans. Like every Midoriya, they don't really see themselves on the same level of the normal humans. They believe themselves superior in a way compared to normal everyday humans. Izuku's never considered himself human. It might be peaceful, but it seems too boring for me. I could never see myself living in this false sense of security. These humans are blinded themselves. Sooner or later, they'll realize the reality of their situation. Not even their dainty little city will spare them. It just takes one psychopath, supernatural creature to stir the pot. Then their safe little city will crumble. Those walls can only protect them for so long. But that's no concern of mine. I'm a vampire hunter slash monster hunter. It's time to get my head in the game. As he finally approached the boundaries to the abandoned part of the city, as he finally walked past give me a second, guys. The border, he walked around looking at all the abandoned buildings and stores. As he made his way in the center, into the center of the place, and placed his palm on the ground and created a magical barrier, keeping everyone outside out and everyone inside in. So none of the vampires that do try to escape will not be able to. Izuku did notice the skeleton-looking blonde man and the white bunny human are in his barrier, but he paid them no mind. As he walked down the empty streets, doing whistling casually whistling a tune, Izuku hears footsteps to his right as he sees several humans coming out of the one of the buildings, walking out of the building, all holding aluminum bats in their hands. Izuku gauged the incoming hostiles. He was about to begin to draw his sword, his katana out, but he stopped but sorry, but he stopped halfway through. As he gently put the sword back in his sheath, his hand away from the handle of the sword. I could always use a good warm-up before I began hunting the vampires. Greetings, gentlemen. Who are you? Are you some sort of hero? As they all tightened the grip of their bats, ready to attack. Izuku couldn't help but laugh at that idiotic response, irritating the gang members further. What do you find funny, kid? The fact that you think I'm a hero. It's amusing. The fact that you think I'm a hero, according to what I know about the cities, you don't get your hero license until you're at least in your early 20s. You're not too smart, are you? A outsider knows your laws better than I do. Even if they out sorry, give me a try. Give me smart. Are you? Even a outsider knows that. I don't like your tone, boy. What business do you have here? You should return while you can. Fortunately, I can't do that, gentlemen. I have a job to do. I need to be. I have a job I need to complete. So I'll give you two options. Choice one: you could either go on your merry way and forget you saw me and go about your business. Or, the more painful option, you spend a very painful time in the hospital. Your choice, gentlemen. I normally would outright kill all of you. If we weren't in the city, you would already be dead. Now I'm on this job, I'm going to have to follow the rules, unfortunately. So, your move, boys. Izuku admonishment. They all rush him, all at once, swinging their bats, trying to cave Izuku's skull in. As Izuku heard the gang members ranting about him entering their territory, how they're going to smash his skull in, and blah blah blah, he eventually tuned them out, no longer interested in what they had to say, until Izuku finally acted. Only All Might and Mirako eyes as well witness him move so fast they barely able to see it. As the boy begins to move around and weave around and dodging all around the thugs strikes with their metal bats, as he slammed his fist into one of the stomachs of the gang members, making him go flying backwards into a brick wall, cracking it on impact. Izuku immediately got into a fighting stance, as several of the gang members get into striking range, only to see their weapons get bent like paper. Izuku threw out his fist in a chopping motion, cutting the aluminum bat in half, then ramming his foot into the guy's stomach, making him going flying, hitting the street light, as the metal street light bent because of how hard he made contact with the metal. Izuku turned around to dodge a super powerful fist. Izuku side to attack, and stepped backwards a little bit, as he forced to block an incoming attack by crossing his forearms in a blocking motion. Izuku expects this guy has some sort of super strength. Nowhere near his level of strength, but pretty decent for a non-Midoriya. Not bad. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive power you have there. I almost felt that. Izuku disappeared immediately when he finished speaking and reappeared right in front of the guy and grabbed onto his face and ram his knee into his stomach repeatedly, then grabbed a hold on the top of his hair, pulling his hair and slamming him into the brick wall to his right. Afterwards, drove his foot into his ribs as he goes flying, shooting off, flying across the street, hitting a fire hydrant. The fire hydrant flew forward, further than the man just hit, further than the human. Impacted basically flew right into a building, as the area where the fire hydrant once was, water burst nonstop, like a water volcano in erupting. I might cringe at the brutality the young man is displaying. On the other side of things, Mirako has a very disturbing grin on her face, seeing the pure brutality the kid's dishing out. That's right in front of her. She's getting very excited. She's very attempted to burst out of her hiding spot, and challenge the boy right on that very spot, The only reason she hasn't done it yet is because of her self-control. What self-control she actually has, and that's not much. I swear, every time I give you humans the choice to leave and not get severely injured. For some reason, you idiots always choose option one. Option one is always guaranteed to have pain involved. You stupid ingrates. It would have been really easy. Just walk away and forgot I was here. But no, you people tend to do things the hard way. It's like you want me to hurt you. Zigu flash step right in front of the remaining standing gang members that hasn't been hurt severely. Up in the middle of the air and ram his foot across his face in a spin kick, making the man rocket off like a rag doll, hitting into one of the vehicles in the area, denting the door when he made contact. This is starting to get on my nerves. I do enjoy a good challenge, like any guy, but this is pathetic. The rest of you I haven't beat the shit out of. I suggest you all use your quirk. Maybe you could do something more interesting. Make this at least be worth my time. Worth my time. I sorry, give me a second, guys. I could have ended all of you in a mere instant. So keep that in mind, moving forward, gentlemen. If you want to continue this sort of action, because I am a nice guy, I'll give you another chance. Get the hell out of my sight, or spend a couple weeks in the hospital. So what is it going to be, boys? Pick up your wounded and fight another day, or spend the next month bedridden? Depending how hard I beat you all. It really all depends how much you piss me off. Zuki was highly disappointed to see all the remaining disregard his warning and charge forward into his direction. Before they get any closer, several figures came from several different buildings and land between Izuku and the gang members. That was about to get their ass kicked. Immediately, all the heads of the gang members fall to the ground as their bodies go limp, dead, instantly, all at the same time. Izuku was able to keep track of their movements when they killed the humans. He chose not to interfere because they really pissed him off, so he allowed the vampires to kill them, as he simply unsheathed his katana slowly. Izuku's expression on his face turned deadly serious. He knows trying to get intel diplomatically would be a waste of time. Only type of information he will get from these vampires is through brutal and vicious torture. So he decided to kill all of them except for one of them, so he could distract any information where their nest is located at. And if this one doesn't reveal any useful information, he'll just lure more vampires towards his direction by flaring his magical aura. Izuku closed the gap in a mere instant. As he begins approaching the vampires closely, as he's closely gauging the potential vampire threat, making sure no making sure there's no unnecessary surprises. Still not sure if he's dealing with human churn vampires or purebloods. He has to be very careful. He has to be very careful approaching this. Riku suspects, they stumble upon his location by pure accident because of the runes on his neck. It would be impossible for a low-tier vampire to actually be able to track him down. A pureblood would, with efficient experience and power, would be able to track him down, even with the runes active on his body. Izuku had a firm grip on the handle of his sword, slowly circling around the vampires with a cold gaze. Izuku flashed to the right, like he flanked to the right, dodging a very sharp vampire claw with one simple move. He thrust his sword right through the vampire's heart. The vampire burst into flames, leaving nothing but vampire ash in its place, making the two vampires jump backwards by pure shock of Izuku's vampire-like speed, making both vampires very cautious of Izuku's capabilities. What are you? You're nor vampire or nor werewolf. You really don't know, do you? Homerleaf, you must be freshly churned. You most likely has been trapped in the city your entire life as a mortal. Assuming, allow me to proper introduce myself to you, my vampire friends. I am fucking Midoriya. I am fucking Izuku Midoriya. And I am a vampire hunter. And I'm branching out to other creatures. As long as the pay is good. And I'm going to kill you. I could try to get some intel, but I know better. There's no point. You'll never talk willingly. I'll have to keep one of you alive long enough to get the intel. And very interesting methods to get any valuable intel out of your little noggin. I know how to torture, but I've never actually done it in practice. I'm actually looking forward to that, as Izuku gives a devilish grin on his face, disturbing the two vampires with pure fear expressions on their face. Izuku is talking and how his eyes are glowing green. It makes him very ominous. Everyone tried to escape. Izuku flash stepped right in front of him and slashed his sword right through his entire body, upwards from his head down, cutting the vampire in half. As you see the remains bursting into flames, he was in mid-air when he chopped him in half. As vampire dust rains down on the remaining vampire that's alive. You young bloods are quite powerful when you're first churned, but you're nothing compared to a Midoriya. Without warning, the vampire got kicked right in the face as Izuku did a jumping spin kick. The vampire went flying into one of the brick walls. As his back hit the wall hard, making the brick wall into spire-like cracks. Izuku flashed up right in front of him and slammed his foot, pinning him to the wall by pressing his foot into his chest. As a black silver dagger appeared in Izuku's hands, as he ran it through the vampire's hands, pinning him to the wall. As he did the same thing to his left hand, as the vampire screamed out in pain. Izuku can tell the vampire is confused, why he feels weak, and can't rip the daggers out of his hands, despite how much pain he's in. I see you're confused, my vampire friend. Allow me to enlighten you. You see those nice, gorgeous daggers are made of silver. And your kind extremely weak against silver, especially freshly churned vampires like yourselves. to make sure you don't get any cute ideas. As the daggers themselves have some sort of, as the runes start to glow, as a binding rune activate, making sure he's unable to move. Vampire would be unable to remove the daggers on his own. A more powerful vampire would have to pull them out. How strong, what type of runes he has on the daggers. All I simply want is any information on location of your little vampire nest. Go fuck yourself, human. You're a vile one. I know how to deal with you vile vampires. Let's have some fun, shall we? As he created a very long black silver dagger, as he begins cutting into the vampire's body with a slow and calculated motion, like he's a veteran torturer. See, my friend, the first thing I was taught was to learn the skills of the ways of torturing. It's one of my family's hobbies. And I learned from the best. My aunt was the top torturer in the clan. Quite a scary woman. And lucky you, you get to be my very first test subject. Don't worry, I've always been a fast learner. As all you could hear in empty Baden Street is pure pain. Scream all you want. It's music to my ears. Shall we continue, my vampire friend? Izuku formed a very vicious grin on his face. After 30 minutes of brutally torturing the vampire, he refused to talk. The vampire even bit off his tongue, so he would not reveal any information. Izuku sighed in annoyance and rammed his katana right through the vampire heart, killing it instantly, as the body set on fire and turned into vampire dust. After the fire died down, as he sheathed his sword, without even looking, he threw out a dagger to his left, hitting a vampire in the chest, piercing his heart. When he tried to sneak up on Izuku, as the vampire caught fire and turned into vampire dust. Young bloods are so arrogant. To think you actually think you would be able to sneak up on me. I knew you were there the whole time. Pathetic fools. A is out of the question. I guess I'm going to have to go to plan B. I'm going to have to cause some ruckus to get their attention. Izuku run his hand over his hair in frustration. Tilt to his head as he just realized he could have kept that one alive. Well, alive, but heavily injured. He could have followed it to his nest as he's berating himself for that stupid mistake. Oh well, no reason to complain over spilt milk. Now, where shall I go first? I guess I'll just wander for a little bit to find a good staging ground for a large battle. The moment I increase my magical aura, they'll definitely take notice and come to investigate. And I have no doubt I'll have to keep one alive, injure it severe enough that I would have to run back to his little nest. Then I'll just stealthily follow the vampire. No matter, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. As he put his hands in his pocket, begins walking down the street. Might wasn't surprised of the young kid's methods of dealing with vampires. He's seen worse from the past experience with vampire hunters. Miracle didn't really care either way. They were vampires, so there's no law against killing them. Vampires in the city are not really trusted. there's no vampires in this city. They're not allowed. There's no reason for her to go and interfere in the hunters' operations. She knows how hunters act when you interrupt one of their hunts. It's usually a death sentence. They'll kill you on the spot. Mirako, not stupid. She noticed the infestation of vampires in the city. Most people believe Mirako has a mutation quirk. In truth, she is a were-rabbit, a humanoid rabbit hybrid. Unlike her cousins, distant cousins, werewolves, were-rabbits don't shift. They look like that naturally. It was a well-kept secret that Principal Nezu kept under the radar from the hero organization. They're very strict on only humans able to be heroes. It didn't take Izuku long to get some attentions of a few vampires. When the vampires finally approached Izuku, he used his hunter's speed to make after images of himself and brutally and precisely kill all three of the hostile vampires, severely injuring the fourth. His plan worked better than he thought. He thought it would take several more attempts, but the vampire immediately retreated when he stabbed him in the stomach with his sword, as Izuku begins to follow the vampire, eventually leading into a large building. Izuku broke into the building right across from it, and began to stake out the building. He noticed several vampires coming in and coming out of the building. Izuku took out his phone and dialed a number. Shoka, it's me. Thank goodness, I was getting worried. What's your status? I believe I found the nest. I'm not 100%, but there's a lot of traffic in the abandoned part of the city. Unfortunately, the vampires refused to give me any useful intel, even though after I tortured them. So I had to go with plan B. I had to severely injure one of them and follow them back to their nest. What I believe is their nest at this current time. I'm across from the building, observing I'm observing their movements. I also noticed a couple of stragglers tagging me along. They a threat? I know one of them is human. The second one, I'm not so sure. They've been keeping an eye on me. I've mostly ignored them for now. I had no reason to confront them currently. The humans in this area are very hostile. Be careful moving forward. Update me when you have destroyed the nest. There's a good possibility you might come across a weak pureblood if it's a large enough nest. Sounds promising. In a sarcastic tone. I'll talk to you soon. As Izuku cut the contact and put the phone in his pocket, he took out a book and began to read. It is past tense. So anyways, let's continue. Pulled a book out of his suit and leaned against the wall, reading. While reading, he's trying to come up with a plan to attack just in case they have superior numbers, judging by the traffic. He knows that's pretty much a guarantee. He spent 2 days absorbing the information, observing the vampires. He noticed they always have two vampires on guard in front of the building by day, and they shifted out during the night. As he would see a lot of patrols that would patrol the area. He's been very observant of their behavior, who comes, who goes, for the next 2 days, as the third day is slowly approaching. Izuku noticed a familiar face, began to walk towards the building as his eyes widened. He knows that face. He wouldn't forget it. No way. Derek? Something definitely is going on here in this city. If that Warlock's here, luckily Shoka doesn't know, or we would be having a storming fury, a storming pissed off vampire. I don't think the city can withstand her fury. Would make things a lot more complicated. Izuku stealthily exit the building and begin to cross the street. It's currently getting late afternoon. It's about 6:30 p.m. But because the sun's going down, it's making him easier to stealth around the vampires and finally infiltrate the nest. He used the shadows as cover as he overheard the warlock talking. As he stayed quiet and listened and made sure he was out of sight on one of the cement beams that's up near the roof. As he watched the warlock to see what he's talking or what he's saying to one of the vampires, Derek is waiting patiently as a portal opened up right behind him as he turns around as a masked figure come out of the portal wearing a well-dressed suit. As Derek hand over a briefcase over to the new figure, and over the briefcase to All For One. Most people believe he's a normal human. In truth, All For One is a half vampire and half human. He has lived for many centuries, moving things in the shadow. This is all the necessary research you wanted me to get for you, Master. Excellent. Well done, servant. This information and the artifacts that you collected will assist my ascension to godhood. My godhood is pretty much guaranteed now, thanks to your helpful help. Since my greatest rival near, we'll continue this back at the base. Follow me. Of course, Master. If you're concerned about that dead body you brought, it's in your private laboratory. I won't interfere in whatever you have going on, just as long as you don't interfere in my plans. If you do, I will drain you dry. Do we understand each other, servant? Of course, Master. I wouldn't dream of it. Derek's inner thoughts. I just need to buy some time. Then I'll show you, pathetic fool, of a true god. Pathetic half-breed. As I revive the goddess of chaos, you'll die. Then I'll be granted ultimate power. Well, shit, I'm gonna have to definitely report that. I don't know who that guy was in the mask, but I could tell he's gonna be trouble. If he's associated with that warlock, they're definitely up to something. I guess I should probably clean house, then report back. Things are gonna get a lot more interesting. Of course, I won't reveal these two figures to the humans. It's best they don't know about it. Izuku used the element of surprise and began executing every single vampire in the abandoned building. Not even being noticed, Izuku immediately retreated from the area and made his way back to UA. The moment he got out of the building, the two people that were following him broke off when he finally went back to the populated city after destroying the barrier. Sometime later, Izuku made it back to UA. As it's not too late, as he enters Principal Nezu's office and sat down on one of the chairs. So, how did it go? The nest of vampires, and I dealt with them. And I dealt with it. There's a possibility there might be some stragglers. There was a large amount of them. I got majority of them taken care of. If they're stragglers, they're working with some sort of warlock. And I'm very familiar with him. Something's going on, but I don't have any other further information. Don't know why the vampires were not hostile towards the warlock, but I'll find that out. You need my help again? Just contact my handler, Shoka. As you see a sniper on top of the building. The body figure is alone, you could tell it's a female. As she's laying on the ground, as she has Izuku's head inside of her rifle. As she turns her rifle towards the rodent, as she squeezed the trigger, as a bullet was shot out through the rifle, the bullet begins to weave around the buildings like it has a mind of his own and head towards Nezu's office window, flying right through the glass, only to see her bullet get reflected back by a sword as he reflected it into the wall. As you see several bullets being shot at, as Izuku begins to reflect every single one of them with his sword. Down, Principal Nezu. As Izuku is forced to reflect several of the bullets that are heading towards his direction. As several bullets get shot out on all sides of him. As he can't really pinpoint where the bullets are coming from. Coming from different directions, so he doesn't know what the original spot where the rifle was shooting at him. This is no idea if it's a one-person squad or it's a full squad of snipers. Nezu immediately put the school in a lockdown. After the bullets ceased, as Izuku sighed and put his sword back in his sheath after reflecting the last bullets. Well, that was exciting. I have for you to thank for protecting me, young Midoriya. To think someone actually tried to kill me. They acted sooner than later than I expected. Interesting. You made it sound like you were expecting assassination upon your life. Of course, if you live as long as I have, I've made a lot of enemies. There's always a possibility that the safety committee is one of my biggest threats. I've interrupted many of their operations, so they're not too fond of me. I figured they would be taking action eventually. Once things cool down, once I know it's safe, I'll get you out of the city. I wouldn't be surprised if they target you as well. They weren't very happy of your presence in their words, their city. To begin with, so expect that. All Might came in his All Might form, come running into the office with a Mirako. All right, sir. Quite all right, All Might. I just had a failed assassination attempt on my being. I find this scenario quite exciting. Call me crazy. See you there, Mirako. I hope you've been well. I guess I should introduce you two to our hunter over here. This is Izuku Midoriya, a hunter from one of the vampire cities. From the city that the Todorokis rule. Quite a lovely family. Resident of a vampire city. I'll be damned. Name's Mirako, slugger. Pleasure to meet you, Mirako. Well, aren't you a pleasant one? I'm All Might, the number one hero. Pleasure to meet you. As he extended his hand outwards, as Izuku took it and shook the buff man's hand, as All Might tried to use a bit of strength to test the boy's strength from his handshake, he was surprised. He was quite surprised when his hand began to hurt from Izuku squeezing him, as Izuku has a grin on his face, smiling deviously at the bulky, oversized blonde man, as All Might begins to wince in pain from his hand being squeezed. Izuku has a massive smirk on his face. Miracle saw that as well, so she couldn't help but smirk at the situation of the power struggle between the two of them. You got quite a grip on you, young Midoriya. People from my clan are pretty strong. Back to business. I have some hunches that I know who is responsible for the assassination attempt on my life. As fascinating I find this to be, it's a good possibility the safety committee is behind it. We can't rule out any of the large villain factions that are in the city. We could always use some assistance with your skill set, Izuku. Much as I find this safety committee to be interesting, unfortunately I can't get involved. I can't get involved in any human matters. If there's some sort of supernatural creature behind them, then you would have my full assistance. Disappointing, but I completely understand. I know hunters have to follow their own rules, especially from your clan. I might not be affiliated with the Midori clan anymore. Getting involved into human matters will not be a good thing. It will get a lot of attention from my clan and other enemies of my clan made over the years. My appearance and name alone will get a lot of attention. There's different type of supernatural creatures that well do hate my family. As much as I would love to see them rip them apart, I can't advertise that I'm here, unfortunately. And many of the vampires in the vampire community still holds great hatred towards any Midoriya, and I'm not immune to that hatred. I don't know about the werewolves. I don't believe I have any ill will towards them, or vice versa. I've never came across an actual werewolf outside of the feral ones that you could find in the wilderness. While listening to Izuku, Nezu just remembered something important as the light bulb appeared over his head. According to what you just told us, you said you can't intervene if it's just a human matter. What if the scenario happened where you found out that one of the members of the safety committee is not human? Would you be able to provide assistance if that was the case? Izuku stared down at Principal Nezu as his straight face turned into a smirk on his face. If there is indeed a supernatural creature involved in this safety committee, then that would be a different matter. And we don't truly know if they were just targeting you or targeting both of us. I did have to reflect a lot of bullets. That's what I saw as well, Izuku. It's such a pity they would openly attack a visitor. Indeed, quite unfortunate. I have all rights to defend myself. Isn't that right, Principal Nezu? As he has a devilish grin on his face. So does Principal Nezu. As they're both thinking on what they could plot together. As they go back and forth on ideas. Getting All Might and Mirako very uneasy. Mirako lean over and whisper something to All Might. Is it just me, or am I seeing a human version of Principal Nezu. Not just you, I see it as well. As All Might begins laughing nervously. They're way too much alike. And that's terrifying. Wait, All Might. I know you tried to trail this kid and see what he was up to. But at least Nezu told me when I called him, when I brought this up to his attention over the phone. Followed him originally because he's an outsider, and I was interested in what he was doing in the city. Yeah, Nezu wanted me to trail the kid to make sure things didn't get out of hand. You must be pretty good at sneaking around. I didn't even notice you there. Pretty good at sneaking when I want to be. Did you see anything? Did you see anything inside the building that the kid went into? Are you crazy? I would not go in a building filled with vampires. Not going to happen. I like my blood in my body, thank you. As that's where we're going to cut it. Hope you guys have a good night and day, judging by time zones, and I'll catch you in the next video.